The competition in business is quite common. Why? Because you compare yourself with others in terms of numbers, in terms of ratios. Now, when you are in a business of chemicals, you know that by default, you are in the process of polluting the environment. Now, nobody can stop it because the nature of business is like that. And when Nokia came up with their smartphones, when they started coming up with their mobile phones in the Indian market, they also understood that there is a need for the recyclable of this because people are going to change their mobile phones quite often. Good morning and welcome to the second session in Unit 6 in the first semester, where we're going to talk about in management principles and practices a very interesting topic known as the green management. Now, what is green management all about? Green management is all about how do you carry out the business with a social conscious over towards the environment. So are you an environment friendly person? Are you a kind of a business house that has got the instinct of keeping the eco-friendly practices as a part of your policy? So that's where exactly we are talking about this green management. Several companies in India are paying attention towards the environmental damages, the environmental protection factor that's coming into their business house altogether. So that's why we see that every management system has to adopt this concept of green management. They can't say no to it. Why? Because green management is something that is imbibed, that is built in, and they have to do it at any point of time. Now, you know that in the atmosphere, when we talk about this greenhouse effect, when we talk about the ozone layer, we have been very particular about it, and several climatic conferences have also been held where the nations and the organizations have pledged their money in order to protect our Mother Earth. But nevertheless, somewhere down the lane, that particular action has not been completed. There are organizations in the world which have committed themselves for 50%, 20%, 10%, whatever the commissions that have been told in terms of supporting the Mother Earth, the nature and the environment altogether. But whenever we look at the environmental damage that has been caused by the solid waste or by the contamination has still not been completely cured. So now it becomes the responsibility of each and every organization in this world that they go back, they think, and how they build a sustainable environment for the future. Now, moving forward, along with the global warming, business direct their businesses towards green management, which is focused on the environment by realizing the damages that they have caused. Now, some years back, there was a huge amount of queries that was raised by the public in terms of the carbon footprint. Now, there are a lot of countries and governmental organizations which have been working consciously in order to reduce the carbon footprint across the globe. So many people still today ask about this factor. How can we completely neutralize this factor so that tomorrow we can have a clean and green earth? The reason is that in the name of business, whether you like it or not, we have damaged the environment to a very great extent. We've gone to the factor, we've gone to the brink of civilization. Now, that will not be accepted. Why? Because if we continue this practice, probably we will cease to exist in the coming years. We all know that the Arctic caps and the Antarctic caps have been melting, and there's not going to be a place anymore for the polar bears or for the penguins to live on this great earth. Now, we don't want to go to the level where we call our civilization as an extinct, but rather we want to come to a 21st century where we want each and every business house to adopt a green management system that will actually help in sustainability with production and profitability kept in mind. So what we are trying to build in this new century is that we want every manager, every leader, and every nation to think about how can we build a sustainable environment rather than a competitive environment altogether. The competition in business is quite common. Why? Because you compare yourself with others in terms of numbers, in terms of ratios. But when you're going to talk about environment, when you're going to talk about the green management system coming to the top of your mind, there's no comparison. Rather, it is a time for you to start adopting and thinking that, can we really make this happen? Can we really take it forward? And that's exactly what we are talking about right now. Followed by, businesses adopt green management applications to decrease damages on the environment. This is very, very important. Please pay an attention to this. Why? Because they are bringing in applications, which means there's a whole lot of investment that is going on in terms of making the environment cleaner and greener. Followed by the friendly productions, the environment-friendly technologies, and the edge that they want to gain over their competitors by bringing in an environment-friendly image, by bringing in that factor that I care, I concern for the environment, I have this concern for this Mother Earth. That's where the competition is today focused upon. You might be a great manufacturer of whichever product in this world. It might be related to an FMCG or to a technology-oriented product or probably a chemical product. There's no doubt about it, because you have gained that prowess or you have gained that expertise over a period of time. But what is the question that's now coming in the minds of companies is that, how should I reduce that carbon footprint? How should I become a company that would stand as an example for those hundreds and thousands of people across this globe who want to look at me as an environment-friendly company, as a champion of environmental cause altogether? Why? Because if you have been going through the priorities of the youngsters who join organizations today, they also want to feel, they also want to have that opportunity saying that I work for a company which cares for the environment. They don't want to be a part of the organization which only makes profits and then says goodbye. Now, they don't want to be a part of that system anymore. So that's why consciously, we have been adopting this system. We have been making an effort. We have been making a stand saying that, yes, we want to gain an edge over the competitors, over the people, by saying that we are building a very, very environment-friendly environment. Now, the concept of green management, the greener environment by supplying quality of industrial system regulations which have been able to make a success both at the national and international market. So the first thing that we want to understand here is that, can we start working from the inventory? That's the supply of the raw materials itself. If the supply of raw materials that is going to the industry is quality oriented, it is something which is naturally taken care of, well built in nature altogether, then automatically the outcome will also be good. So what I'm trying to tell here is that the success of the business not just lies in making yourself technology enabled or environmental friendly just by showing some posters or taking some corporate social responsibility. It is rather about how do you change the vision, the dynamics of your business. Now, for example, let's look into a paint business like Nippon or Asian Paints or JSW Paints. Now, when you are in a business of chemicals, you know that by default, you are in the process of polluting the environment. Now, nobody can stop it because the nature of business is like that. But what have you done in order to reduce the pollution from your production coming out? So what we are going to think here is that, can we bring in materials, can we supply those kind of products which have undergone the process of reducing pollution across the earth? So what is happening here is that the success of your policy, the success of your philosophy, the success of your vision of making this earth more greener starts with your production process. You need to be really protective about the fact that what kind of materials we are using. Have we really enabled our fellow members, our workers, employees, trying to make them understand how the system entirely works? So somewhere down the lane, we have to make it 100% sure that we are building in a system of green management as a habit, as a philosophy that has to be inbuilt completely. followed by businesses affect their environment by activities to carry on their existence. Now, let me just focus on this word called as existence. Sustainability and existence are two different factors. I'm not just going to mix both these words. Sustainability is more about taking you to the future. Existence is all about survival. So survival and sustainability are not going to be the same words. I'm not going to repeat it again. I'm not going to interchangeably use it here. Why? Because most of the organizations only talk about survival. I can survive through profits. I can survive through sales. I can survive through the system. But have you been on a sustainable development mode? Which means to say that just start thinking out of this box, the profit margin. I don't want that profit margin talk. And at the same time, I'm not going to get affected by other factors. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to move myself out of that environmental factor. I'm going to move myself out of that thought process that just I have to do something like a contribution here. No, what I'm going to do rather is that I'm going to interact with the system. I'm going to find out what exactly I can do at the same level in order to protect the environment, which means I'm going to take my business more serious, more with a sense of responsibility so that I make the entire business environment friendly at any given point of time. My intention, my ideas are something very, very simple. What I want here is that the businesses to run environment friendly as far as possible. Now, the next thing is that they turn into the green management and they gain conscious that environment should be protected as a result of environment destroying, which appears parallel with the economic and technological development. So one side, when you are talking about development, the other side, you are deteriorating the environment altogether. Why? Because you feel that in order to grow, you have to destroy something. And the outcome of this is the drought, the famine, the floods, or suddenly you see the changes in climatic factor. People are not getting place to stay. People are being completely affected by the given situation. So what happens in the overall run here is that development is becoming the first cause to destruction. Now, we don't want a development that promotes destruction. We want a development that can actually promote sustainability. We want a system that will go forward and create a purpose, a meaning for our existence on this earth. So what we want organizations is that let them come forward and start bringing in solutions that would actually lead them to think about the future. I don't want an organization which will just go ahead and promise to these shareholders as well as to the public that yes, they are reducing the carbon footprint. Now, for example, here, Aquafina, which is the mineral water bottle product from the house of PepsiCo, they went ahead and they pledged before the public saying that they actually return back water to the nature, that's to the Mother Earth, more than they consume. So what is now happening is that if you just look behind the wrapper of the Aquafina, it's very, very clearly given. They have saved more than 1 billion liters of water, which means to say that more than they have produced mineral water bottles, they've also gone ahead and saved the same thing back, which means they've given back something to nature, earth, and which is very, very precious. So what I'm trying to say here is that the starting point of green management is all about sustainable development. Now, this is going to become the secret success or the formula for your existence in the coming years. So going forward, please understand that sustainable development is no more an option, but rather it's becoming a mandatory thing that we need to take care of. Now, the next thing, it depends upon the thinking of environment protection and economic development being together. And this development in the year 1987 was actually started up. It was actually a compromise on the ability of requirements for the next generation. What we typically try to do in the year 1987 is that when the Brundtland Commission defined about it, they said that we are going to look more into sustainable development rather than just building up a generation which comes forward and tells you that everything is done, everything is possible. No, I'm not going to build a system like that. What I'm going to build here is that I'm going to look for a long-term economic protection. I'm going to look for a long-term development standard through which we can build it better. Now, moving further, we are also going to talk about a very, very important concept called as the protection of natural resources, increasing quality of human life, increasing sensibility against carbon and chemicals, especially the recyclable. Nokia, our famous mobile company which came in India with a big bang. Of course, Nokia still remains a favorite for many of us. And when Nokia came up with their smartphones, when they started coming up with their mobile phones in the Indian market, they also understood that there is a need for the recyclable of this because people are going to change their mobile phones quite often. So what's the need of the hour? Nokia came up with a recyclable bin. They started putting up a stand before the Nokia shop saying that your phone is recyclable. So please drop your old mobiles here. We will recycle it. We will not bring a harm to the Mother Earth. So starting from the packaging to that of the product, they were the first company who started thinking about recycling the mobile phone. Now, whenever we talk about e-waste or we talk about solid waste, the word recycling is coming up into the picture very, very clearly. So nowadays, whenever you talk about any product, let it be a paper boat or we are going to talk about any other company, they have become very, very conscious about their packing and they ensure that each and every product that they are using in packing, in delivering is a recyclable material altogether. Now, in this direction, the businesses have also tried to contribute to their partners as well as to the entire system, stating that they are able to determine the economic, social, and the ecological factors. So they've gone to that level of understanding the entire system. They've gone to the level of making people believe that every business activity that has been continued, that has been done inside the system, inside the organization, is a part and parcel of their activity, and they have imbibed it. Now they've gone to the level where they have said that yes, we will do it according to the nature, according to the environmental protection law, and we will not just do it for the profit's sake. Now, the basic principle of sustainable development is to protect the natural resources by controlling the usage and consumption. Very, very important point. Beyond the level, we actually do not need to use the inventory, to use the natural resources. There is a limit for it. So if you can identify the limit and do it better, automatically you will be able to control the consumption factor. You will be able to control the entire environmental state. If the sources are continued on consuming, the unrestricted, unconscious society, then the business will definitely encounter some problems. So what we are trying to do here is that control on the usage and on the consumption. So if you're able to control the inventory part of it, if you're able to control the entire system of it, then automatically you will be able to control the damages that are happening in the environment. Followed by management should be able to balance between waste, combination of productions along with the renewable and the unrenewable resources. So the renewable part and the unrenewable, you need to segregate, you need to classify it very, very clearly so that you are able to bring in a control back into the system. This is very, very important in the management. Why? Because we are not just going to take forward a system without these practices. Followed by, while profit of the partners, the economic development and income are becoming prominent, but the aims of the traditional management, understanding the welfare, understanding the sustainability, quality of life, and the green management concept is now picking up very, very strong among the people. So definitely most of the organizations are going to spend time and effort in terms of making people understand how we are involving ourselves in terms of development, in terms of bringing the quality of human life, in terms of giving you the opportunity to be a part of this entire existence, entire environment altogether. So somewhere down the lane today, partners today, the leaders of the organizations are coming forward and advising their team members, please spend some time in doing something for the environment. That's why probably companies like Tata have this ideology of when they do the marathon, when they start getting into the Go Green activity, they ensure that their employees understand the importance of green management in every walk of life. Now, the aims of green management are for the adopting of the system. The organization is going to determine the effects and control of their activities. Organization should also establish environment management system which should be involving the environment politics, programs and their aims altogether. So this has to become a part of the induction program. This has to become a part of the system where every new trainee, where every manager of the organization should know what exactly is happening in the environment around him. Now, the other thing is that the top manager should contain the environment protection, continue to develop by defining the environment politic. Now, when I say that politic, which means to say the structure of the organization, where exactly we are involved, how we need to take it forward, and what are all the factors that are coming into picture. Followed by should be aware of the social responsibilities of the environment, should train that personnel. This is very, very important as environment conscious. This is what I've been talking about. Why? Because now this becomes the need of the hour that every single employee should undergo the training, should understand what is happening in the environment, in the situation, and take it forward in that manner. Now, the aims of them are to gain a competitive advantage, no doubt about it, to admit that eco side is better than anything else, to contribute to the environmental process and development, to evaluate the business, and of course, precautions should be taken for determining the environmental problem. So definitely, when you look into the aim of the green management, it is more about to minimize the environmental damage. It is more about taking the side of the environment and growing with it and reducing the wastage altogether. Now, building a socially responsible, definitely yes. Why? Because we have to train the personnel, we have to enhance the responsibilities of the worker, we have to enable the workers to work within the business with the environmental factor and install and the equipment that should provide a solution for this entire process. So definitely this is going to be a very important activity as we are talking about it. Now, they are also looking into provide equipments about the environmental protection that should be given to the employees. Environmental protection should be determined as per the working standards. We need to enable the workers to have a proud benefit of it. Managers should definitely be a part of it and they should motivate the workers to be in that same line. And finally, to apply a derailed education and development program about nature. So definitely going forward, schools and colleges should make environmental education as a part of the syllabus. Now, with that, I come to the end of today's session. I hope and believe that all the resources shared through this session would be of a great benefit and resource to you, both in terms of practice and theory. In the upcoming session, we will be talking about the ethics in business, which is very, very important and interesting. But before that, stay tuned, stay enlightened, and stay blessed forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.